So here we are, April 2nd, on yet another beautiful day on the Gulf Coast. As I've said a couple of times so far being down here, this is the weather I was looking for. So right now it is about 77 degrees. There's a nice breeze coming in. You can see the waves in the background. This is just simply absolutely beautiful weather. When we woke up this morning, it was about 70 degrees. Walked outside, could take Tonto on his nice little walk in my t-shirt and shorts. Really, this is great. This is awesome. That's one of the things, one of the followers out there was making a comment where they tracked down and they took a look at the type of RV or the type of travel trailer that we are doing this little adventure in. And I guess they actually went to a dealership and they took a look inside and went, wow, that travel trailer is small. You and your wife must love each other. And here's the thing, yes, my wife and I love each other, but that's also the reason that it's so important that it is nice outside. Because you see what happens when it's nice outside and she's crabby or I'm crabby, the other one can go outside and sit at the picnic table or take a little walk or whatever. And so it's no big deal. Basically, the travel trailer and the outside is just one big place that you can be so you don't run over each other. The problem is, like when we were in Charleston and these other places where it was cold and rainy and nasty, when you're stuck in the travel trailer with another human being, it gets tight really quickly. So yes, my wife and I do love each other, but the reason that I'm so worried about what the weather is like is it's really nice just to be like, ooh, she's a little moody right now. You know what? I'm going to go take my Mac and edit these videos outside. Because that's what's nice here. What's really cool, especially being a geek, because geeks don't normally get a lot of sun, is what's really cool is taking my video files and all that and sitting down at the picnic table in 70 to 80 degree weather with the sun beating down and just sitting there doing my little video editing. Even at home, I have a nice little office at home, but it's still not the same as sitting outside, feeling the air coming in and doing your work. It's a beautiful thing. I think this should be a new niche for like geek employment. Something for you guys to think about. So all these startup companies out there, all the startup companies are trying to go to open floor space, which I think is a stupid idea personally, but open floor space is where there's no cubes, there's no offices, everybody just shares one workspace. What I'm thinking they should think about doing is doing like open park. Can you imagine if tech companies came down to like beautiful areas, like areas that have a beautiful climate, and then their offices were open air? Can you imagine having a tech company in Hawaii or having a tech company in San Diego? And it's not even that you don't have offices, you don't have cubes, you don't even really have buildings. Maybe you have some shelter so people could go under that when it's raining. But I think that would be awesome. I bet you that would be a huge employee perk. If you went to hire somebody and said, yeah, we are so open and free in our tech company, we literally don't have walls. I'm thinking, if I ever had a tech company again, oh, never mind, I hate employees. But if I liked employees, I'm thinking I might actually try that out. So anyway, so yesterday was an exciting day. And we'll get to that in a second. So we went out, we went to Tate's Hell State Park. So Tate's Hell State Park is a state park down here on this little peninsula on the panhandle of Florida. And it used to be an old logging operation. Massive logging operation. So it used to be a tree farm. And the problem though that the state found out when it got converted into a tree farm is that they had to drain all the water because it was a big old nasty swamp. So they had to drain the water out of the swamp to make it drier for pine trees, which is what they wanted to harvest. But when they did that, there became an issue where water would run through the state park or the old forest too quickly, and then it would rush into the Gulf of Mexico, and there would be such a huge influx of fresh water into the Gulf that it would desalinate the area of the Gulf and would actually do like massive fish kills. It was like horrible for the ecology here. So what the state decided to do is they went in, they bought the whole tree farm back from the private company for who the hell knows how much money, and they're now trying to go back and turn it into a more natural. They're basically trying to revert it into the type of woodland it was. But what's cool about this particular state park is they bought it back from a tree farm, but because it was a tree farm, there's still forest. So a lot of times when states buy back land to create parks and all that, it's already been clear cut, right? It's already been clear cut, turned into fields, all that kind of stuff. So when they go through restoration processes, you know, you're dealing with a lot of trees about this tall. I've seen that a lot, especially in Maryland. They go out, they buy land, which is barren as hell, and then they plant a zillion of these 5-foot tall trees, and you gotta wait 50 years before it looks like a forest. What's kind of cool here with Tate's Hell is it's already a forest. It's not the right forest, it's not the forest they want, but to me, in fact, it is a forest, so it still looks kind of nice. The only issue with Tate's Hell is just like what we found out with Apalachicola National Forest, is that there's not a lot of trails that most of us would consider trails. There are a lot of old logging roads, so basically logging roads crisscross all of Tate's Hell, and Tate's Hell is huge. And crisscross Tate's Hell, but there's not a lot of trails where you just get on and it's a nice little trail. So you can walk along the logging road, which are basically straight as an arrow for as far as the eye can see, but there's not very many winding trails. So we went over there yesterday. The two things we wanted to see was the High Bluff Trail and the Dwarf Cypress Boardwalk. So it's kind of funny with the Dwarf Cypress Boardwalk, because again, we're doing all this by the skin of our teeth. We're just going. We don't know what the hell we're doing. We're just going. So I saw that there was this Dwarf Cypress Boardwalk, and I was told it was a good boardwalk to go on. And the idea with the Dwarf Cypress Boardwalk is there are these dwarf cypress trees, and these trees are anywhere generally between 150 to 300 years old, but they're all very short. So if you look around at the woods around them are normal height. But these particular trees are like half that height, and nobody can really know why. They know they're 300, some of them are 300 years old, but they're still small as hell. So there's a boardwalk, and the boardwalk goes up so that you can take a look at the dwarf cypress trees from up above. And so I thought there was gonna be a little bit of a hike there. It's like, yeah, it's a boardwalk. And so my wife looked at me and said, I hope the boardwalk is longer than 150 feet. And I looked at her and went, I'm sure the boardwalk's more than 150 feet. It's a boardwalk. And then we got there, and the boardwalk was like 175 feet. Very cool to take a look at. You're not gonna get a lot of exercise going to the Dwarf Cypress Boardwalk. It's a boardwalk that kind of goes up, and you're up at a platform, and you get to look around, and you're like, wow, this is really cool. But that's it, you don't get a lot of exercise. So we go there, and you walk up, but it's really cool, like once you get up there, and you're looking at all these dwarf cypress trees, because it's this weird thing where the trees are small, but they're all gnarled and twisted around. So you can see that they're old, but they're small so that you think that they're young. So it's really kind of a weird head trip when you're up there. And it's really peaceful. I don't know why. My wife even stated that. Just being in the middle of those dwarf cypress trees, you just feel this immense sense of peace for some reason. And nobody really knows why the dwarf cypress trees are dwarf cypress trees. As far as I could figure out, apparently they are genetically similar. They're genetically the same to all the other cypress trees around. They can't find very much in the environment that might cause a problem. So they're kind of stumped. I guess there's this theory that there's this layer of clay that's somehow below where these trees are, and that layer of clay might be doing something. But it's a really just a big theory. It's a big, you just go out there and you look at a pretty large section of these dwarf cypress trees, and nobody is really sure why they're dwarf cypress trees. But that is a cool thing to go to. You get off the little highway here, you go up and you get to it. The one thing that I will warn you if you go see the dwarf cypress trees is, you know how I was just talking about how all these old logging roads crisscross through Tate's Hell? Well, the road to get you to the boardwalk uses these old logging roads. The problem is that the way to get there isn't marked the best. Truly, I'm not being snarky here. It's really not marked the best. So you do have to be careful so that you don't get lost in Tate's Hell. Because like, we came up from this one highway and we zigzagged through, and it's pretty obvious which trail you should take because it was the most worn. But then you come to this intersection, and at the intersection there's a sign that says the boardwalk is this way. So then you just turn left and you go to and you can find the boardwalk. Well, the weird part is with that sign is very easy to see when you're coming in. All right, so when I'm driving up, the sign is here and I can see it. Well, when you're driving back, basically the sign is hidden behind bushes. You can't see it at all. So if you just, you got done with the whole Cypress Boardwalk and you're like, wow, that was awesome, that was cool, yeah, let's go on to the next thing. And you start blazing down that little dirt road and you're not paying attention, you could whiz by the sign that tells you to take a right. And I don't know. I don't know where that road goes. It really is. There's like this dirt road that just keeps going off into the distance. And if you kept going straight on that dirt road, who the hell knows where you would end up. So do be careful if you do go out to that boardwalk. You can get lost in those woods. And then you'll know why. It's called Tate's Hell. But then after that, we went and we decided to do the hike on the bluff, the High Bluff Trail. The Bluff Trail. So it's one of the only real trails they have here in Tate's Hell. And so it takes you from here to down here, and it's about 4.5 miles one way, and then you walk back. So we did the trek down and we did the trek back, and it was nice. It was beautiful. It was nice, sandy trail. You got to see all the different plant life and lizards and all that kind of stuff when you're walking along. It was a very good trail. For seeing the Florida ecosystem and seeing a little bit of diversity. We've been on some other trails, and most of the trails that you see in Florida are all at the same elevation. So basically, when you walk on it, when you've seen the first 100 feet, you've seen the rest of the 5 miles. What was cool about the Bluff Trail is it actually it changes elevation. So you go through some low areas where there's the little palm tree things, and you go higher where there's just trees, and then you go lower where it gets swampy. So you go through some different environments and you truck along. So overall, that was a very good thing for coming down here. Definitely do the High Bluff Trail if you're a hiker. It's very cool. The one thing that I will warn you is it was 85 degrees yesterday and sunny, about as sunny as it is now, and we were baking out on that trail. We were baking like some pork chops, you know what I'm saying? And that was 85 degrees in the beginning of April. So the only warning I will give you, big warning, if you do that trail, is if it's 90 or 95, put on sunscreen, make sure you're covered up, make sure you have a crap ton of water, because it felt hot as hell. At 85 degrees, it felt hot as hell. But then we were coming back, and then we had our first true adventure. The true excitement of this trip. 2.5 weeks in, we got to the first coolness. So as I talked about before down here in Florida, alligators are a bit like white-tailed deer down here, compared to Maryland. So in Maryland, we have a crap ton of white-tailed deer, and in Florida, they have a crap ton of alligators. The difference between white-tailed deer and alligators, as far as I'm concerned, is white-tailed deer run away from you. Alligators can eat you, right? So there's a lot of alligators down here. And so my wife and I, we were coming back on the trail, and this is something to think about when you come down here, because it's not a joke. It's like white-tailed deer run. Alligators are real. So we were coming back on the trail, and we decided that we were going to try to increase our pace. So our pace for walking a mile is like 25-minute miles, because we kind of dawdle. And so, especially being out here, doing these adventures, doing all this cool stuff, we want to try to increase our pace so that it's quicker, so we can walk from point A to point B. A lot of the standard trails, especially once you get out to the west, are like 15 miles. So if you can cut how fast you walk a mile from 25 minutes down to 15 minutes, that's a very useful thing. That really actually does matter at the end of the day. So we decided, we did the 4.5 miles down to the lower part of the Bluff Trail, and then we decided going back, we were gonna time ourselves. So basically, when we hit the mile markers, we time ourselves how long it took to get from mile marker 2 to mile marker 3. So the first one we're doing this, right? I'm still feeling good, I'm still feeling pumped, and so I'm just hiking along as fast as I can. I'm just doing the Eli speed hike, and I'm telling my wife, come on, keep up, keep up. Say that. Anyway, so we're on, and then like going, and we're about a third into this mile, and I look up, and there's this thing in this trail, and I'm like, huh, that's weird. And then it kind of like looks at me and hisses, and I'm like, oh crap, and it was an alligator. Like when I say an alligator, I'm not like it was an alligator this big. It was like an alligator like this big. I don't know. It was probably maybe a 12-foot alligator. It was an alligator, right? Our first excitement of this adventure. So we came, and so we're walking along, and we're, I don't know, we're pretty far away from the alligator. We're 20, 25 feet away from the alligator, I guess, and we're like, ah, crap. And it starts hissing at us. And so what we've been told is if the alligator starts hissing at you, go the hell away, because it's pissed off. So, you know, with any kind of animal, there are sometimes the animals look at you and they don't give a damn, and then sometimes they look at you and think lunch. And so apparently hissing is when they're pissed off and they want nothing to do with you, and they will eat you if you piss them off. So we back off, and then we're sitting there and we're like, huh, what the hell do we do? So we use Google. Thankfully my little smartphone worked, and Google. And it's like Google says to move back on the trail so that the alligator can't see you, and then let it leave. So we're like, okay. We move back on the trail. We can kind of like peek over a little something. We can barely see him, he can't see us, and we're waiting for him to go. But he's just sitting there like hissing away. And so the problem is where we are on this trail is it's a trail, right? I mean, it just goes from point A to point B, and there's no way to get to the road or to go around where we're at. So we're sitting there and we're like, huh, okay, now what the hell do we do? So, because it's not leaving. So we take a look, and it says, if alligator doesn't leave, circle behind the alligator as far as you can, and then keep going on the trail. And so we look to see about circling behind the alligator. But behind the alligator is all the tall, shrubby stuff, so you can't get behind the alligator. So it's like, okay, well maybe if we go really far in front of the alligator. So I start going through the brush or whatever. It's pretty low, and I'm going way in front of the alligator. So the alligator's here, and I start about 25 feet out, and I'm trying to do like a 30 or 40 foot circle around him. So I keep going, but then there's more shrubs, so I can't get through the shrubs. And then I'm sitting there like, oh crap, what are we gonna do? So I come back to the middle, and my wife's already beside me, and like, huh. And then we start to hear the alligator moving. And we're like, hold on. And we're like, oh crap. And so it's like, run. And so we run back to the trail. And then we run back to the trail, and the alligator's gone. But like the bushes and the stuff, basically where we were just at, are like bopping back and forth as the alligator goes that way. And so we're like, oh, that was fun. That was exciting. So we see the alligator, and the alligator's probably like 40 feet off. And so we're looking at each other like, well, what the hell do we do? Because alligators, apparently they a lot of times they're in families. So there's this one alligator, you don't want the other alligators to come along. But on the other hand, you don't know if other alligators are in the bush. And you're like, crap. And so basically, we just take a look, and we see until the alligator gets, I don't know, like I say, about 30 feet into the bush, and then we just start running. We start running as fast as we can past the whole alligator path. And then we get by it. We have survived our first alligator. It's kind of cool. It really was. But that is one thing. So they talk about, when you're down here in Florida, safety. Be safe. Don't be like Eli. But be safe. That's one of the reasons they tell you not to take dogs. Right? And this is a very serious thing, because again, you come down here and you're a tourist and you're like, alligators, yeah, whatever, right? You know, Maryland has bears. Doesn't mean I've seen a bear in the past decade. You know, so that's kind of like what I think. You know, I mean, Maryland has bears, supposedly. And so you come down here and you think alligators. Like, yeah, Florida has alligators, sure. But one of the things they tell you, why this is important, is when you go on these backcountry trails, they tell you not to take your dog, because your dog will go batshit at things like alligators, and the alligators will then eat them. Right? So normally, you know, when we had Tex and Tonto in the past, if we were on a trail like that, we would let them off the leash and let them run, right? Because we were in Maryland, or we were in New York, or we were in one of these places, we don't really care. Again, there's bears out there. Sure, there's bears out there. We saw one once, 10 years ago. But the issue is down here, is like we had Tex. If we had Tex off leash and we had come around that corner and there had been an alligator there hissing, Tex would have lost his damn mind, gone within about 5 feet of it, barking his head off, and then would have become Tasty Treat, right? In all seriousness there. So that is why I would suggest down here in Florida, if you're going backcountry, you probably, or any of these trails, you probably don't want to bring your dogs along, because there really are alligators here. Like, yeah, no joke, the alligators are here. Like, even in this trailer park, or even in this RV park, I was talking to the owner, or one of the head people here, and apparently last week, they had a 21-foot alligator under one of the RVs. Under one of the RVs, just kind of hanging out, just chilling. He had the pictures from the sheriff's department, so I guess the sheriff's department had to come out, and I guess they have an alligator removal program. And he had all the pictures of this It was a massive thing sitting here in this this RV park. So we're keeping an extra close eye on Tonto because we do not want him to turn into a tasty treat. But yeah, that was the excitement yesterday, getting to see an alligator in the real world. And what do we do with an alligator? It was cool. It was cool. Those SOBs are creepy. Let me tell you, in the real world, I know you see the alligators behind cages, and you're like, yeah, it's not too bad. When you see an alligator just sitting out there, just doing its thing, oh, it does not make you feel good. It does not make you feel like you are at top of the food chain anymore. Real quick. So there you go. There you go. Now the one thing that's come from the peanut gallery out there before I let you guys go today is I've been getting some trollisms. Some trollisms. You would be shocked on my video about the Coomer Museum and Gardens. So we were in Jacksonville. Not that many days ago. So about this time last week, we went to see the Coomer Art Museum and Gardens, and the gardens were very nice, and the museum was very oh, that museum was horrible. It really was. Just very, very poor quality examples of art, and then it's just very not coherent. Doesn't really explain a lot. You're just in there. It's just this mess of old art. It's like, look, we have old art painted by famous people. Be impressed. You're like, yeah, but it's not actually the very good art from these famous people. But it's interesting because I've been getting trolled by people from Jacksonville telling me I'm out of my mind. And this is something for you guys to consider in the real world when you're going about doing whatever it is you're going to do. So I am a visitor to Jacksonville. When I go to the Coomer Museum, I don't know anything about it, heads or tails. Again, it's just a random thing. Just like I go to a trail, just go to a park. It was a rainy, or we thought it was gonna be a rainy day. We're gonna go to the Coomer Museum. I really enjoy art. I really love art. And I was like, oh, going to a local art museum, this would be great. So I go to the Coomer Museum, and I just find it to be foul. I just find it to be, it's just horrible. It's a really bad museum. I can't really explain it much better than that. When you go there, again, it's just poor pieces, poor examples, incoherently spread around the property. It just doesn't make sense. There's no rhyme. There's no reason. There's no. It's not art. But anyways, so I've been getting the snarky stuff, and again, been getting this mean stuff from the Jacksonville people. And this is one of those things that I want you guys to think about in the real world, like when you're dealing with people out there. Is so I do my little criticism of Coomer. Take it or leave it. If I am an idiot, I'm an idiot. If you believe in me, you believe in me. I don't really care. I'm just doing these videos because I got to do one every day. But I've been getting some real nastiness from those people. Basically, they tell me I don't know anything about art. I'm a complete idiot. I should keep my mouth shut because what was it? Oh, anyway, basically I should keep my mouth shut and all this. And this is one of those things, this is one of those situations I want you guys to think about in the real world where you have somebody who doesn't have a bone to pick with anybody. Doesn't really care if something's good, doesn't really care if something's bad, will just report on it as they see it. And gives criticism about this type of facility. And one of the things that I see so much in the modern world is that when criticism is given, that people attack the criticizer versus actually taking a look at what the criticizer is saying and trying to make any changes. Right, so if this is basically a tourist attraction for the area, and I'm coming there to see it as a tourist, I find it to be a bit crappy. There are a lot of ways that you could handle that. But what's very interesting is to see the people attacking me because of the things that I said. And this is something that you should be thinking about with whatever you're doing in life, is that when people give you criticism, are you taking it in? And are you debating how you can use that criticism to make yourself or your offerings better? Or are you simply attacking those people for criticizing you and calling them numb? And because the issue is here's the thing, I go to that museum, I find it pretty crappy. I'm not gonna recommend anybody go to that museum. I'm obviously not gonna tell you guys to go to that museum. And if all I'm hearing from the people that support the Coomer is attacks, then I will never tell anybody to go to the Coomer. Right? So just think about this like when you're communicating with people. If somebody gives you criticism and you attack them, they harden their views of whatever they thought before. And not only do they harden their views of whatever they think before, but if you're attacking them, what I think is you find this to be absolutely acceptable. So I don't think this is good. I don't think this is good quality. But you think this is absolutely acceptable. So now, not only will I never recommend anybody go to Coomer now, but I will never recommend anybody go to Coomer in the future, because you find this to be acceptable. You find what you're doing, this melange of bargain basement crap, to be good. Then if you think that's good, then you're never gonna change, right? You're gonna keep doing the exact same thing, whether it's this year or 5 years from now or 10 years from now or 20 years from now. Something to think about is when somebody gives you criticism, if you simply respond and go, I understand what you're saying, did you see the audio tour that we presented? You may not have realized that the audio tour that was available for you for free or for $5 would have explained all the art pieces we had and turned that into a coherent storyline. Then I can go, oh wow, right? Well, I criticized you because I didn't understand what you were trying to do. Now, I still think you should have communicated that better to me as the attendee when I came and paid money. It was like 10 or 15 bucks a piece to get in. I still think you should have communicated that better. But you know what? But maybe I was a little wrong. Maybe there is a coherence to your art. And so maybe I was too harsh then. Or if you email back, or you communicate back and you say, hey, I know right now there's not a lot of coherence to the art. What you have to understand is we just got a $50 million endowment. So we're about to build on this new section. And when we build on that new section, we're gonna get some new art pieces. Things are gonna get spread out. And once it gets spread out, there will be stuff. Right. And so there's all these ways to communicate when somebody gives you criticism that will make them think that they themselves was wrong, right? I criticized the Coomer. If they come back to me nice, polite, and they say, oh, well, this is what you should understand, then I can look at it and go, oh, you know what, maybe I was wrong. You know, honestly, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was a little too snarky. Maybe I'll come onto one of my videos and apologize to the Coomer. Maybe I'll even put a little addendum, a little update at the bottom of my video saying, hey, make sure to check out the audio tour. Apparently that makes this crap make a bit of sense. But instead, if you attack the person and say, you don't know anything about art, that's what I love with you. These snobby, it's these snobby elitist people who come out and say, you don't know anything about art. Well, yeah, right? But if you come at it from that direction, basically I look at it and go, well, the Coomer was a piece of crap art museum that didn't make a damn bit of sense and wasn't worth the 10 or 15 bucks a piece it cost to get in. Not only that, but you're elitist snobs, so I don't want to support elitist snobs regardless. And 3, again, you think this garbage is absolutely acceptable, which means you're probably not going to change in the future. So not only am I not going to recommend people go there now, but I'm also not going to recommend people go there 5 years or 10 years from now. Good win for you. So again, one of those things to think about criticism, because my credibility, again, the people that complain about my viewpoints, I don't care whether they think I'm credible or not. I really don't. If you watch any of my old videos, I have 1,000 videos online now. And you find anywhere in any of those videos where I have ever seemed to give a damn about whether anybody cares about my credibility. Right? Anyways, that is my little snarky moment for the day. But it is something to think about with criticism. It is something to think about with criticism. And this is, again, what I try to show you guys is all this real world stuff, where it's just like for this art museum. I mean, just a simple little bit of social media communication, and they could have said some nice things. They could have eased how I felt about them. But instead, I'm like, no. I don't like your art. I don't like your museum, and I don't think I like you people. So I think that about sums it all. But anyways, there we go. That was our little thing for April 2nd. It's nice and sunny out here. Absolutely beautiful right now. We are going to be going off, what are they called? The Leon Sinkholes. Something like that. I think they're called the Leon Sinkholes in Apalachicola National Forest. There's the alligator. Doesn't want to seem to go away.